Okay, Friday, August 26th. It's about 2 hours into trading, and I thought I'd make a mid-morning update video on the SPY. You can see here, this is the daily chart. Look at this, very interesting. We had a major reversal to the downside, big red bar. We've taken out all targets. And let me kind of start here on the weekly chart just for now, even though it's kind of a mid-morning update. On the weekly chart, we were talking all week, if you look at the chronicled videos I was making on the SPY, that we had a potential shooter bar that should have a 2 down and take out our target here with high probability. And, then maybe this next target here with high probability. And if you look at this chart right now, you look back on it and go, oh, this was easy. We had a hammer bar and a shooter bar, and we made it 2 down and we reached our target nice and red, and everything looks, that was very clear. But if we really go day by day, and I was doing this day by day, you can see here the first day was really red. That started that, expectation to the downside. But then we had 2 pause days, and I went over those in details with videos. And we had a big reversal day yesterday, which, now if you look at my video this morning, I was discussing how, hey, we might, at the moment when this reversal day happened, this weekly bar looked green, and we might be getting a shooter bar into a hammer bar and maybe reversing back up. That was definitely in the cards, depending how price opened. But if you kind of look at my, the opening video, I also discussed the probability, or the possibility of what a failure would look like. And in this case, obviously that's what happened, but it was, taking barely out the highs of yesterday, which we did, crossing the midway point of that bar. Here is the opening, these 2 lines are the pre-market highs and lows. And I said if we end up taking out the pre-market low, we could be taking out the midpoint of that bar below the open of the week and turning this week back to red again. And lo and behold, that's what happened. We failed here, a classic 2-up failure where you take out the high of a bar, you go to the midpoint of the bar, then expect to, go to the low of that bar, which we did. In this case now, that's following all the way through, to take out those weekly targets. So it ends up being that yesterday was just broad, and I discussed in the opening video how this yesterday could have just been broadening action of this 1 bar here, taking out the lower low and then a higher high, and then we can come all the way back and take a lower low. And again, it was all going to be based on opening price action. So if we look at that just real quickly, this was, we started red, and that kind of showed you we weren't breaking out to the upside. For a second, we had a little bit of a pause bar here, no real green bar. And then it was the Federal Reserve that really kicked all this off. I mean, they spoke, and we had a big move down. You kind of knew the Fed was speaking, so that's why you're kind of standing aside at that point, seeing what happens. Well, we came down, we took out some stops, so it looked like the red was continuing. But this, again, they're speaking at this point. There's all kinds of volatility. You don't know for sure. Then, we pop back up from there because, you take out stops and the fake to the upside. And it was on this bar here where you then saw what the real, then the Fed speak was over. You watch, we start red. So now we're below, look at that. We started weak on the day, never really had any green bars. And then by the time the Fed starts speaking, we close green, we start big red down here, hold down there. And that's where I actually bought puts on NVIDIA at this point. All these stocks it was just a clear trade that, we're heading down. And in terms of this action, the SPY was a clear reversal type of moment at that point where we're heading down below the midpoint of the prior day. And now, failing on that 2-up and taking out that. Now we're going much lower, and we reached our weekly target. So I'll make a video that kind of points out a weekend video of what's going on. I mean, if this holds, we're going to hold down here, and then we'll look for continuation towards the next target into next week, and we'll have to look at the midpoint of this week and see what that is. I don't want to guess what's going to happen. Maybe, who knows, maybe by the end of the day we come all the way back up. But at this point, it's clearly a down day. It'll take a lot to turn this day back up, and I don't anticipate that. But again, you just follow price action. But the clear trade opportunity here was on the after all the volatility starting down, breaking and holding below. Again, you always look at those levels, the high and low of the pre-market action. Anything that sticks above that would be bullish, and anything that sticks below it has the potential to be bearish. In this case, we were bearish. It was a failure day. We moved lower, and the weekly targets have been reached. Monthly chart is now looking into a potential. We still have a week to go next week, so that's why I don't want to completely predict what's going to happen, but it looks like we're getting a potential shooter bar that can continue lower into next month if we hold this way by next week. So we'll keep an eye on that next week. Weekly chart still continuing down, and again, big reversal day. So just showing you what's happening mid-morning here. It's really only 2 hours into trading, a long way to go. I think if nothing else, there should be a little bit of a pause rally here, and it could set up a secondary opportunity to get short for one more, at least short-term trade to the short side today. But you'll have to watch price action broadening out higher here and seeing how that develops, and then rolling over to the downside to test that low, if that in fact what happens. But big bearish day, and again, just kind of showing how everything kind of took place from the open, the pre-market action, the Fed discussion, and then really what the direction that took place on the day. So we'll see how it closes. I'll make a weekend video, sometime this weekend, talking about next week.